Hello. Whoops, that's a bit loud. How are we doing? Let's get. There we go. Hello. Ready to stream and chat and shit. I've just eaten a whole bunch of food, so I'm a bit sluggish. But we'll sort that out with wine soon enough. Hi everyone, welcome Tinfoil on time for the first time in a while. Thank you, my hair. I did think it was looking good today. Embroidery, that's fun. Yeah, so we'll just sort of we'll do a normal tasting the wine in a second. I'll just let people filter in, and we can start. I'm part of the boy detectives now. Is this a joke that I'm not picking up on? I don't. You're gonna have to explain that one to me. I might be being dense. Yeah. So plan for today is obviously open up the wine, get a wee bit of wine time in. Talk about the last video. Oh, that dang dad. Ah, right. Yeah. That was a fun thing to be part of. Favorite one is chicken run. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Yeah, I enjoy being part of that dang dad's video. He asked me for advice, like doing some advice stuff, and I'm like, man, my life is not together enough for advice. I don't know if I'm like, and as well, like, if anyone, for people who watched it, my advice basically boiled down to chill out and don't worry too much. It's the anxiety, because for folk who didn't see it, the video was about like advice for men. And when I was sent the list of like questions that wanted answers, one of them was like how to be a non-toxic man, or not how to do non-toxic masculinity, and my only advice for that was like why are you concerned with doing masculinity right? You should, I mean, be concerned about being a good person, masculinity or not. And because being a good man has absolutely no relevance to how I act, and that I can only really give advice if it's related to how I act. And yeah, and the other question that I only answered because I was at the gym that day and overheard two guys talking about how like they wanted to get women, and the other question answered was like how to find a partner, and these two guys were like so intense about how to get a woman and find a partner. It was like deeply sad and obviously kind of dangerous in the way that sort of women are conceptualized to these sort of guys. So that my only advice for that was to just chill the fuck out. Just chill the fuck out, man. You're worried about getting a partner? It's fine. In a very trite way, learn to love yourself. Yeah. So yeah, that was nice for that young dad to include me, and still include my dog shit like 15 seconds of advice into that video. Yeah. George, all I'm gonna say is we should have known. I mean, so we've got some. Let's see how many people we've got in here before we actually start with the general sort of stuff. We have 31. That's a good number. That's what we normally have. So let's get our wine started, and then we can start talking about the video and all that. Oops. There we go. Okay. This week's wine will surprise none of you to learn was on deal. Down from £8.50 to £6.50. And it is, I think we've had it before on here because we do only have a limited wine selection in the terrible shop. The one terrible shop that's near me. it's a silver. We've had it before, I think. Silver Moquet Sauvignon Blanc, cool climate wine of France, 12%. And it is shimmering like a diamond in the sea. Silver Moquet Sauvignon Blanc is a true reflection of a cool climate wine, sourced across France. A blend showing true French style. I would have picked up on that true French style. With expressive aroma and flavours of gooseberry, green notes, I don't know what that means, floral and exotic fruit, and singy refreshing finish. Funny story. So during lockdown, I was in lockdown with my parents because I got evicted from London, and my mum had planted gooseberry bushes a few years ago, and she collected them. And then one day I came down, and there was this big tub of gooseberries, and I'd never seen one before. I had no idea what it was. They just looked like tiny melons. So I was like, what the fuck is this? What is this? And then I had it, and it was nice. So maybe I'll like this wine. Picking up wine notes. That's a good start. It's been a bit of red wine recently, so we're going back to the white because the hangovers kill me. Let's see. It's nice. It is a nice wine. It's sweet, but not too sweet. I count that as a win. We're off to a good start. We're off to the fucking races. No one's seeing me getting progressively grossed out by wine today. We've got the good wine. So, I guess we should probably start talking about the video. Already got a couple comments in here saying along the lines of should have known and all that stuff. For anyone who hasn't seen the video, I guess basically it's a coming out video. The only reason it's a coming out video is that isn't a big enough discount. Yeah, I know. Wine's too expensive. I need to go to the Aldi for cheaper wine. Absolutely didn't weep. Yeah. Evicted from the whole of London. What did I do? I had a dodgy landlord, and all of London is a dodgy landlord. The bisexual lighting created a literal foreshadowing. Yep. So a lot of people were like, "Oh, we just assumed," which I thought was quite funny. Like the sheer number of people who were just like, "Oh, yeah, congrats," but yeah, we know, which was nice, to be honest, because it's like a fairly nerve-wracking thing to be like, to do something like that big in public. And I should do voiceover work. Thank you. That I would be nice to get more work in. It's a big thing, and weirdly, lots of the people going like, "Oh yeah, we know," is just quite nice. And also the sheer number of folk in the audience, that collected like a 50% bisexual audience is quite funny to me. But the story of like the video itself is like, it wasn't the point of it. I wasn't going in to make that video to be a coming out video. I'd been wanted to talk about the topic for a long time, the specific topic of queer washing and pride, and that specific experience. But because I've not talked about it previously, it functionally had to be a coming out video as well. And I didn't want to be like doing it in bits and pieces, and obviously like I still had things to sort out in my non-internet life before I talked about things like this publicly. So like it had to be a coming out video for that reason, and I think it worked out fine, coming out like that. The reactions to it have been very, very positive. I've been very, very pleased with a lot of the reaction to it. Only a few, like the number of like. This is a function of like the response to the video from people who've watched it has been roundly amazing and really nice. The video has not done particularly well, which means that I've not gotten many bad comments because it's pretty much stayed within my my like channel area. So I've only had like a couple of weird like Zionist claims, and then the odd people who follow me who because they hate me, which is always a strange vibe. Like, just don't watch my shit. If you hate me, it's really easy. I don't watch things of people I hate all the time. And then like the odd, like the other day, waking up to like 5 comments of people being mean in a very specific way. Like the so yeah, we should go on and insult me underneath the bed. That'll do it. Yeah. So like the comments, the odd accusation that the critique. I had a couple of people being like, "Oh, this is anti-Semitic. You're complete. The way you're just focusing on Israel." I knew those would come. I don't care because those accusations they're not founded on anything. I know the content of what I said. I know it's based on nothing. The ones that get to me are the ones that are like the ones that I shared on Twitter, like that sort of vibe. That one gets to me much more than anything else. But there's been thankfully very few of that type of reaction, which is nice. It's been quite a comfortable experience, which is quite nice. And quite a few people sharing some very nice, very nice comments and responses. Yeah, so it's been largely good. One thing only one person has pointed out in the comments so far has been how each section talking about like the actual personal stuff on Pride, and I'm very pleased with how aesthetically theatrical this is. But like each section on Pride starts out more ridiculously fully like rainbow and Pride shit with bisexual lighting to the max and everything, and then as the sort of sections go on, the light gets more normal and it gets toned down for each section, and like the glasses come off, the rainbow flags get rubbed off the face. I enjoyed that a lot, and only one person has made specific comment on that. So thank you to that person. I can't remember what their name was. But yeah, I like that sort of little thing going on. Yeah. And also the quality of the video and the audio was much better, so we can call that a win. I will never understand hate watching or following, like who has the energy and or time. If I don't like someone on social media, I'll just not follow them. Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple. There's one guy who's been really, fake fan. Yeah, come on, should have noticed. There's one guy who's really, really mad at me, who, has been following me since the last video on degrowth, and has been going through all the videos, just sort of like hate commenting on them all, but I don't notice because they're such low caliber comments. They get filtered out. I don't notice until someone else responds to them, which is just funny. Like, come on, you're watching like so many hours of content, and commenting on them all is so much effort. And yeah, like Katie say, I don't even have enough energy to watch my friends. Never mind Never mind people I hate. Which is all very funny to me. I am gonna be like relentlessly promoting this video though. Hello, how are you doing? How are we all doing today? Yeah, I'm gonna be relentlessly promoting this video because I am quite proud of how it turned out. And I want it to do better than it's doing. So you're gonna follow me on Twitter. You're gonna see lots of clips being posted, encouraging people to watch and all that shit. It's a couple of people I've spoken to have been like, yeah, lots of the like LGBT stuff works. It tends to go quite slowly, but does quite well, and I'm just hoping that it's got legs. Because usually the way videos go is the first week is where you get the vast majority of your views, and then it heavily tanks out. Hey Aronok, how's it going? Hope you're well. So I'm hoping it's got a bit of legs. Yeah. Otherwise, that, not much else to say about it, I guess. Also can confirm on the long tails. Yeah. Let's hope. The bafflement is quite fun. I was surprised that Wednesday one was a strange one, because that one like started off doing really badly. Similarly to Chicken Run, actually. The Chicken Run video started off doing, like, for 2 or 3 weeks it did really low, and then just suddenly on Christmas Eve of that year it got like 40,000 views in one day. Must just been people being like bored on Christmas Eve, just being like, fuck it, we'll watch some Chicken Run shite. And I was talking about that the other day with someone, actually. The way, it's quite funny how the vibe of like how I get recognised in places has changed from before the Chicken Run video to after it. So like before, if I was ever recognised, people would be like, "Oh, it's really really nice to meet you. I like respect your work. It's really good stuff." And I'd be like, "Oh, thanks very much." And these days it's just people shouting "Chicken Run" at me, which honestly I know how to deal with that more than people being sincerely kind. I can deal with someone shouting "Chicken Run" at me much easier. Right, let's get our first tune going, and we can really get into chatting some shit. There we go. That's a fun one. Nice bit of kind of don't know what style that is. Yeah, like the stream, like the stream people. Yeah, for folk who are new here, this is what we do. We get wine drunk and we watch me fuck about on a guitar, and then usually about 2/3 down the wine bottle, I get unreasonably mad about something not proper. Will this live stream be uploaded? Yeah, it'll be. All the live streams are on. They all like immediately get archived or on whatever. What's it called? Like they're on the channel under like live streams. All the back ones are there. You can always tell when someone's serious about an instrument when they put on a metronome. I mean, it's just better. It's so useful. A metronome. Hello, what's therapy? How's it going? Oh, here's something from the video which is interesting. One thing a few people talked about was so there's a concept called homo-nationalism, which is something someone called Parr, an academic called Parr, came up with, which is do I jam live with other people? I used to. I used to play in bands, but I've not been able to in years. Not since I lived in Glasgow. I wanted to when I moved down, but I'm not at the time and the money to like play with folk, because like to get into a studio to play with folk costs a bunch of money. I was planning to do a stream with someone and do a bit of like playing along with them, but they got robbed and their bass got stolen, so it's unfortunate. Yeah, so there's a concept called homo-nationalism, which I didn't bring up in the video for a couple of reasons. First, like the concept basically, it's similar to the notion of like attaching the perception of gay liberation to a nation. And I didn't bring it up in the video because for the first reason, because it was another concept I have to describe. I didn't want to describe another concept in what was quite a tight video, a shorter video than normal. I didn't want to dedicate time to it. And the other reason is because I know that the person who came up with it has said some stuff that I'm not sure I agree with. Has basically said that sometimes that argued that pinkwashing can be the criticisms of pinkwashing and pinkwatching have fall into homo-nationalism as well, because they're associating a liberation with a Palestinian liberation, and I didn't want to get delving deep into that debate, because it took up quite a lot of discussion in a fair few chapters of the books I read, and in some of the sources. Hamlet, if you want to look at some of the sources in the for the video, the Ritchie source and Aslet, I think, both go into that a little bit and both talk about that sort of controversy. I just didn't want to get into it too much. This is like another sort of concept that I felt like I wasn't 100% on invoking within the context of the video to further the argument that I was making. Which is, that's all that was. I had quite a few people asking why I didn't include that concept in the video, and that's basically the reason. I love the wee sounds of the guitars, mate. Yeah, God, the synth pedal is so fucking fun, man. It's such a fun wee thing. What else? I mean, the other like the most common thing that's brought up was which I knew would be brought up, was people complaining that do you ever monkey around with distortion boxes? Shoegaze. I mean, I have I have the two distortion boxes there, but shoegaze stuff is not something I've ever played really. The closest I would get to it, does do Smashing Pumpkins count as shoegaze? I guess so. That's probably the closest I'd get. Hello, thank you, Ersatz Expert. That's a good name. It's a delight to have you here. And hello, Samwise Ming Morgenstern as well. We're just chilling out. Did you have any reason not to preamble the pinkwashing in Israel colonialism discussion with the discussion in the title of in the beginning of the vid? Yeah. So the originally that's how the script was. That there was going to be like just a more general introduction to it, to the sort of preamble stuff. But and we were talking about this on stream, I think last time. I wanted to like trip people up with it. I wanted to sort of Trojan horse the discussion. Like I've done a few videos where, like from one video to the next, people have like I've purposefully done really different topics to try and sort of to not get pigeonholed. So you know, after the big video, my first video that did properly well, which was the one on Vosh and you know that crowd on white supremacy on the left and that sort of stuff, and that did so well, and I knew that diving into that sort of drama content would be a way to quickly gain a bunch of subscribers and do money. So I deliberately did something entirely different, which ended up being a chicken run video, which also did very well. And after that, I was like, I could very easily, fall into doing a bunch of media analysis, which is another popular thing. So I decided after both of those to do like the densest video I probably still have ever done on neoliberal subjectification and social reproduction and all that stuff, which did surprisingly well. And so I wanted to do that sort of thing within this video, to be like, this is a coming out video, and then immediately trip people up by talking about Israel-Palestine, and sort of Trojan horse them into that discussion. So that's why I didn't like do a preamble beforehand, because I didn't want people to be like, oh, there's I didn't want people to be sort of preempted to that discussion, which is why I didn't do that. Yeah. Thank you, Michelle H. Yeah. Do I have any suggestions, books, channels, etc. for autodidacts looking a way to get away from popular history or critique books, dig their teeth into more serious fare? I mean, for books, I have a video on seven that I made last August or so of like 7 books that I really rate, which are good sort of introductions to various different topics, which like expand a lot of the themes developed throughout this channel. And they're like, remembering off the top of my head, sorry, I've got a lot. I'm burping a lot because I ate so much food before I came on stream. So there's Social Reproduction Theory by Tithi Bhattacharya, Glenn Coulthard's Red Skin, White Masks, Necropolitics, what's it called? Reconceptualizing Genocide. Oh fuck, that's my supervisor's book, and a couple more, and that's a video that sort of gets more into that. Also, if you ever want more reading and stuff, the bibliographies under each video has a lot of books and recommendations. I also sort of follow. I also put what I'm reading, what I've just read, on Instagram stories. You can follow that. I'm really bad with channel suggestions because I've just been so busy that I've not been able to keep up with a lot of what people are making. I've not been able to watch a lot of my friends' stuff in a long time, unfortunately. So unfortunately I can't give many more examples there. Beyond anyone and everyone that I follow on Twitter. Oh, your TikTok got my... I'm sorry, Sam. Why is that shite? Just want to say I've never related to something on a deeper level than I'm bisexual, funky dance. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. I wasn't sure how well that was gonna sort of play out, because obviously conceptualizing how those shots worked in my head, there was so much more professional with what my actual technical capabilities were and what I had time to do, because I was also, for some context, I had a friend coming to visit, and she was supposed to visit, supposed to come on the Thursday morning, so I was like, fuck, I need to get this video done. As it turned out, our flight got cancelled and she didn't arrive until a day later, so I had more time, but I was like, need to get this shit done quickly, and didn't quite manage to get the full montage that I was looking to make done in time. But I quite enjoyed the I don't know what I'm doing thing, because that works on several levels in both video making, life, and general bisexuality, which is fun. Keywords to add to Google Scholar: neoliberalism and genocide. I mean, yeah. I found the Reconciliation Manifesto by Art Manuel and As We Always by Leanne Betasamowska Simpson were helpful for me to understand settler colonialism in Canada. Yep. For me, Glenn Coulthard is where my specific go-to for that. This is a new microphone that I got. This microphone I got in January, compared to the old one, which is good. The reason, so I could have used this video, and I used this microphone, and I did in the voiceovers. Could have used it for the video, but I just hate the aesthetic of having a microphone in my face, and it doesn't quite reach my actual filming nook. So I don't like using it for the videos. I eventually, God, the fucking sound troubles I had. Eventually managed to get a decent sounding lav mic that fits into my little box here, to make the quality better for the video. It wasn't perfect. There was a slight hiss that I couldn't quite get rid of, which was strange, but so much better than last time. It was As We Always Were, right? Is the name of that book. Yeah, that was a very. I worked very hard to get the technical side much better on this video compared to the last one. The last one was fucked. I mean, the last one was fucked up. The video quality was fucked up because that was the first time using the auto cue, and I hadn't sorted that out properly. It took some bit of time to do that, and the problem with the microphone was a fucking issue. But I tried really hard to improve the actual video quality of this one, and I think that worked out, which I'm glad about. I don't think that feeling goes away, yeah. Yeah, I've heard that from lots of other people. Which is oddly relaxing to know that nobody knows what they're doing. Which is again one of the reasons why I'm not like that Dang Dad's video. I'm not very good at giving advice because I don't know what I'm doing. I do think it's quite funny that the first thing that comes out post my that coming out video where I do a montage saying I don't know what I'm doing is featuring in an advice video. I think that pleases me on a psychological level. Scientific terms can be really dry and misleading sometimes, but necropolitics is a great term. Yeah, necropolitics is very useful. Using it a lot in my PhD stuff. So the next video, I guess the next video, there might be another one before that because I want to do a bunch of research. Next one is going to, be on effective altruism. I need to watch Abby's video because I need to make sure I'm just not repeating things she says. I don't think I will be, but also I'm in that video. She didn't use my in Abby's philosophy tubes in philosophy tubes video on effective altruism. I read a couple of quotes by what's his name? William McCaskill, one of the sort of forefronts of effective altruism. And when she, like, I've talked about this before, but when she approached me for a quote, I was like, God damn it, are you doing a video on effective altruism as well? And then so I did the quote, and I did a version of the quotes using William McCaskill's funny little voice, doing a wee impression. But Abby didn't use the funny wee voice impression. She's too kind-hearted. She's too willing to be nice, and I'm just like, I'll be a little bastard. I'm fine with being a little bastard. Talking about William McCaskill's funny wee voice. He's like, I'm here to talk about effective altruism. That's what he sounds like. And I will do that in my own video. Fuck it. Yeah, of course, Abby's video is very good. Abby's very good. And I just need to make sure I'm not just repeating what she says. But I've started reading McCaskill's book, Doing Good Better. I think one of the earlier effective altruism books. And I'll probably do a review of it for this month's book review for patrons. But it's fucking terrible, man. It's like so bad. It's just to be sure to wear thirst trap outfits like Abby. I'll do my best. I don't own any latex, unfortunately. Yeah, Abby's been. That's Django. I think the new episodes are. I think it just came out. She's in that, which is exciting. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the book. Oh god. So a very, very funny thing. I'll probably end up talking about this on the video, but fuck it. Funny thing about McCaskill's book, Doing Good Better, is it starts with an examination of two examples of philanthropy. The first, a bad example of philanthropy. The second, a supposed good example of philanthropy. Unfortunately, the good example of philanthropy is mass deworming. And mass deworming is a famously poor example of effective altruism. It's known for being extremely ineffective, a massive sink for money, and just not particularly useful. And the one in Sophie from Mars conspiracy video is so good. I can't remember what I did in that. I do not remember doing that. What I did in that video. Yeah. So a lot of people responded being like, I talked about this, and people have been responding being like, oh yeah, this is actually, yeah, they're aware that it's not that this deworming. Mass deworming isn't useful, and we've had lots of reflection about it. But really, we reflected on the evidence, and that's important. But it misses the point that if you cannot judge beforehand what is an effective way to do altruism, and you can only wait until after something's been proved to be bad to judge it, then your entire framework falls apart. And it's one of the it's so good that that's the first thing that happens in that book, is basically an indication that this whole framework is rotten and doesn't quite work. But we'll keep reading and we'll see what happens. I'll watch Abby's video. Knowing Abby, she's found good aspects of it and been charitable in ways that I won't be, because I like being a little bastard. I remember you meowing at some point. Okay. Fuck, I vaguely remember doing that. Oh, that's what it was. It was George. What's his face? George. Yes. George Galloway. George Galloway, for people who don't know, is a politician, a Scottish politician, over here who is like a conspiracy theorist. He's a bit mad, a big conspiracy theorist, and don't want to spoil, but this was one of the least charitable ones. All right, fair enough. Is it because? I mean, it's probably because effective altruism is just nonsense. It's very clearly just nonsense. But I digress. So George Galloway, he's a conspiracy theory politician, sort of the left, comes from a particular kind of left-wing tradition, does a bunch of conspiracy theorists, massive anti-Semite, horrendous person. He was on Celebrity Big Brother once, years ago, where he pretended to be a cat and licked milk from a bowl and started meowing, and frankly that should be the only thing he's known for. Anything else, anything he ever says should be full stopped by the fact that he pretended to be a cat on Celebrity Big Brother, because that's as serious a person as he should be taken. Yes, that guy. That was the quote I read, and that's why I was meowing like a cat. I guess people can clip that as well. I'm sure I've had some yeah. I mean, I'm aware that I mean, there's an interesting actual difference, I think, between this channel and Abby's channel, because I think, and I will admit this might be untrue, but I think Abby views her channel much more as like a educational platform than I necessarily do. I think I do provide political education, but that political education is extremely pointed and extremely self-consciously biased in a particular direction, and that direction is communist revolution. And Abby is Abby's like left-wing. I don't know if she describes herself as a communist or a socialist, but she is more gentle in providing that argument than I am, which is, it's a much more like educational, and it allows herself, and people like Tom Nicholson, his videos are much more like, are similar to that, and that allows them to be shared in much more places. So I'm saying I'm a propagandist. Yes. Sure. I mean, I'm not. I don't lie. I'm not providing any. I'm not providing untruths, but I am providing particular arguments for particular perspectives. I'm very clearly doing that, and I'm fine with it. So I do think that's an interesting difference between our both content. Tom's, I've not seen his stuff, and I know Michelle, don't worry. I've not watched Tom's stuff in a while, which is unfortunate because I think he's very good. I did meet him very recently, and fuck, he's a lovely guy. He's just the loveliest guy. Really like him. Really good guy. That's my 2 cents on Tom Nicholson. Good person. Yeah, I feel like Abby and Tom's video could get shown in schools, whereas yours could not. Yeah, I mean, I say fuck too much. I'm aware of that. I know that Tom and Abby's get shown in universities. And I think mine could also be shown in universities. Actually, I know I have a friend who is trying to get my videos onto his teaching class right now. But he's also an extreme communist, so I guess it depends. But yeah, it wouldn't get put in schools. The chicken run video should be shown in universities. That is true. That is true. That is true. Abby does control her public image quite carefully, as anyone with that level of public scrutiny should. Because fucking hell, I would like to reach this channel to reach, like, I think at most like 100,000 subscribers. I think that would be incredible. That would anything higher than that, up to like 1.5 million that Abby has now. That must be terrifying. It just must be terrifying to walk around that, like, to have that much scrutiny on you all the time. Yeah, I'm not sure I would like that. Yeah. Need to get this, but first things first. This year we need to get to the 50,000. The keeping our largely by Natalie Wynn hasn't produced a new essay in some time. Yeah, I think so. It's a very different beast, I think. Having that level of subscribers. I mean, I've been stuck at about the same level for about a year now. Between 20 and 30,000 I've been stuck at this number. I would like that to change, but not to that extent. That would be something else. The difference between being a public-facing entertainer versus being an academic who makes interesting videos. Yeah, and like also I think once you've got that level of like reach, people expect a certain degree of quality from you and from your production level and everything, and the amount of work that goes into that, and not just like the money, but the work, like the amount of work that goes into Happy's videos is astounding. Like a crew, sets, costumes, all that stuff. And like, even if I didn't have a separate job, which I would like, I don't know if I'd ever want to be a full-time YouTuber and not do the separate stuff. But even if I did do no other job, that stuff would just scunner me. I would not like enjoy sorting that stuff out. It would be hellish to me. I like making writing my wee scripts, and doing it myself. I like that shit. It's nice. It's much more my speed. You're not immune to propaganda, my handsome face. That's right. Abby's dictionary jokes kills me every time, especially the one about her subscription to the OED being expired. Oh, I don't know what that joke is. I posted your video, post thumbnail changed to my Facebook and stuff, and a glowing recommendation. Thank you so much. That's lovely. Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate all the shares. What I need is to get one big channel to share it on their tab, and then we're fucking sorted. We're still beholden to a lot of that. Even like smaller channels like mine are entirely beholden to basically the whims of the bigger channels, which is a funny little quirk of making content online, beholden to your particular your basically your colleagues to promote you. It leads to a kind of strange view of like professional relationships. It's quite transactional. Even if you're aware of it, and even if you don't want it to become so, it always like sits in the back of your head. And I know this because every time I meet up with make a new YouTuber friend and talk to them, they're like, so we're not being transactional about this, because everyone's like, oh please, let's try and make this friendship not transactional, please, god damn it. What's the wine tonight? It's one we've had before, because it was got from Sainsbury's, and Sainsbury's does not have the best selection, but it was on deal from £8.50 to £6.50, and it's called Silver Moki. And Michelle H, it is nice. We've got ourselves a nice wine after a nice video, so that's good. We've not failed, so we've got a nice wine. I feel like I want to be a famous writer, but I don't want to be a famous writer. Writer is a funny one, I think, because like I feel like authors, even like really big authors, can exist as really big authors without being like famous. The Castle. I've talked about this before. The movie Castle for Christmas is about a famous author who everybody knows, and one of the things that I was like, this is not how life works, was that every single person she met knew who she was because she was such a famous author. It's like, I think even J.K. Rowling, transphobe in chief, could probably walk down the street without that many people recognizing her, because she just looks like a lady. I fully don't believe authors get that sort of mobbed treatment. Chicken Run 2 will bring that 50k. We are relying on Chicken Run 2. Chicken Run 2, and I made this joke when I was drunk, but I am fully going to do it. My queer reading of Shrek 2. I'm going to do it. It's going to be shitposty. Maybe I'll do two Christmas videos this year. Maybe I'll do it like a Christmas and a New Year video. One on Chicken Run 2, one on how Shrek 2 is fully queer. And I don't mean like, obviously Shrek, the original Shrek, is trans. Like, we know that. It's in the ground, table stakes at this point. Shrek 2 is not just trans. Shrek 2 is definitely more broadly queer, and we're gonna do that. Yeah, if anyone steals that idea from me, I will hunt them down. Also, I love Shrek 2. It's fucking great. I feel like the fun thing about the Chicken Run video, which the Wednesday video didn't get because it was a different sort of beast, is that it rides the line between shitpost and serious, and I want to capture that vibe again. The Wednesday stuff was not shitpost. That was just frustration and the love of the Addams Family movies in the 90s. Low budget can produce environments. Big can't for stuff. Check out Tripod versus the Dragon. They use a sheet projector and some paper to make a masterpiece. Oh, I mean, yeah, 100%. And it reminds me of Jack White's philosophy for making music. A lot of the time for him, it's about stripping back and seeing what you can do with, without having access to everything, and making some great stuff with that. And I think that's an interesting thing. And because I'm very limited. I'm not good at technical stuff. I'm very limited in what I can film, what I can edit. So the strength of what I do has to come across via the script, and to some extent my performance of the script, because no matter how raw or honest it is, it's still a performance. Even that video, the video on the video that just came out, writing that made me well up. I did not cry while I was filming that video. I felt it a bit, but it's how it comes across on screen is much more of a performance than the reality of what it actually was. It doesn't mean it's a lie or it's an untruth, but it's like that you have to be able to perform what you're saying in a very specific way when you've got really limitations like that. And it's still like, communicate the truth, to be wanky for a second. I had to perform the communication of the truth that I actually felt during that time, and while I was not quite feeling that at that specific moment, because in the middle of like recording a video after several takes, it's hard to actually feel that shit. You get me? To extent that's probably inevitable in filming and reactions, communications. It's got 100%. It is just a lot of it is performance to some degree. It has to be useful for teaching stuff, being able to sort of make things that you repeat over and over again, and make them kind of honest and interesting. Abby's Thorn, the Prince did a great job of recontextualizing Shakespeare. Yeah, I went to the last show of that, and then ended up at the cast play for the Prince that Nebula funded, and it was an entire free bar, and my friend Benyo from the Netherlands was with me, and we'd not seen each other in 5 years. So he kept bringing me free drink after free drink. That was also the night I hit 25,000 subscribers. And I got so drunk, I vomited over myself on the way home, breaking a 10-year no vomit streak. So I fully blame... I'll say it. I blame Abby's play for that. 100%. My favourite joke from Shrek 2 is when the trumpeters play the fanfare, and yep. Oh, that is one of my favourite jokes as well. I watched that over and over when I was a kid. 100% love that joke. Just wanted to ask, have you ever considered doing a video on food sovereignty or food insecurity? That's interesting. It's always the same if I've ever considered doing a video on that, on a topic, because the answer is tends to be I'll do a video if I've got an argument or something in mind to make. Because it's really hard to actually make a video when I've not got a bones of an argument that I want to make in mind. But food insecurity and food sovereignty is an interesting topic, and it falls into my specific research interests, which I'd be so yeah. I think that I might note that one down and have a think about it. It's amazing how naughty you can make dialogue sound with nothing but tone changes and context. Don't I know it? I mean, that's a hell of a review. Yeah, for Abby's play, yeah, it made me lose my 10-year no puke policy. Not to do with the play, which was wonderful, but to do with the free bar at the cast party afterwards. Hello Aiden, welcome to the stream. I'm Mello saying, I'm a teaching student, Masters in Applied Linguistics with an eye towards EFL teaching and training. I think you can be effective with anything from super high tech to just talking. Yeah, I fully agree. It's it's a hard thing to do to, and there's some people who do it really well, like some teachers who are just like teachers. Sorry, I derailed with the Shakespeare. You can derail with Shakespeare. We're all happy with derailing for Shakespeare. Hello, Cian. Yeah, there's some lecturers or teachers who you're just like amazing. You're just like chatting in front of a blank whiteboard. You're like, fucking hell, that's a charismatic person can teach this boring topic interestingly. Right, let's get another track going though. On that note. That's fun. That's a wee fun one. Thank you, Fab Forward, for the super chat. Cheers. Let's catch up on the chat. Had a teacher who made trigonometry my favourite class, and it was basically half my undergraduate degree condensed into a semester. I'm the reason I'm where I am today is because I had a teacher who made what we call in America it would be like civics class, kind of sociology, politics. That we've got in Scotland we call it modern studies. And basically that's why I'm here, because I like two of those teachers so much. Came from the dialectics, come from the dialectics. Yep. Brackets, just guitar, not sexual. Shakespeare is so full of extreme and sincere emotions that recontextualized interpretations kind of convey whichever point you want with a wild vehemence and sincerity. That's really cool. Yeah. I mean, I'd only ever seen... First time I saw Shakespeare was last year. I'd never seen a Shakespeare play before last year. I'd only ever read it, and fucking hell, it's very different to see them. It was... I saw... What did I see? I saw King Lear and the Tempest, and both were just fantastic. The Tempest was better. The King Lear was a bit long and a bit boring in bits, but the Tempest was fucking brilliant. And yeah, it was just so good. I had never appreciated just how good it was before seeing it actually performed. Yeah, Shakespeare. Turns out Shakespeare's good. Who knew? Your English teachers aren't lying to you. Shakespeare is actually quite good. Ricky saying, latest fuck, I want to say Pride video was fantastically done and the most JTD coming out I could imagine. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Ricky, and thank you for your comments on it as well. It's yeah, it's still, I'm very glad, very pleased with how it turned out. As much as it is like a nice coming out video, I think it's just a good and efficient essay as well, which with my particular brain problem of having to make video essays is probably the best thing about it, is that it's just like a tight and efficient essay. And I watched it and I was like, yeah, good work. This is good, sturdy work. I'm quite pleased with that. And thank you, Will, as well. Pleased with that. I really don't want to throw some hot takes or anything, but while Shakespeare's good and all his genius is a bit overblown because of his significance in the English-speaking world, quite possibly true. I mean, almost certainly true. He's a part of the canon, but I will say he is good, and I enjoyed it. Most of my English teaching in school was like, oh, fucking Shakespeare again, Jesus fucking Christ. Dan, just tuning into the stream as John's recent video sent me on a lifelong tangent. Well, that's intriguing. By solidarity, exactly. Limey Redneck, congrats John, not seen the video yet and can't stop just saying howdy and hitting the like. Thank you, Limey Redneck. Thanks for popping in. How does it feel being able to say the word right now? Fuck, I was talking to someone about that over the weekend. It's weird. It's a funny thing. Part of the renegotiation of yourself, and this is not specifically tied to the video essay, just like in the broader thing of coming out what is relatively late for people. Like I started like the process of coming out when I was about 27, which is relatively late, and I'm almost 29 now, and it's like that sort of renegotiating yourself into a community that you still feel, and this is kind of related to what we were talking about, you still feel kind of separate from, despite the fact, like, like it's not true. Like but it's not. I'm not saying it's too late, of course, but part of it is like you feel like there's this thing that's separate from you, that's external to you, in that thing being like whatever community, like in heavy quote marks, the LGBT community, and then suddenly you're thrown into it, and with that comes like a bunch of shit, and obviously like in a sort of surface level way, that is like saying that word, but it's a funny little bit of recontextualizing yourself to feel like you are like specifically part of that community, and it's a weird kind of feeling that takes time to come over, to get over, and which is I think related to some of the feelings that are expressed in that video, but not necessarily in the same specific meaning, if you know what I mean. Not explaining this particularly well, but you know, it's a strange sort of thing. Saw The Tempest at the Globe once with Vanessa Redgrave as Prospero. That yeah, I can imagine that was good. When I went to see it, half the cast, literally half the cast, including Prospero, including like basically the entire main cast except what's like the magic fairy wood nymph called, and Caliban, were, aside from those two, the main cast were almost all reading from a script because they'd been brought in at the last minute. Ariel, yeah. And it worked incredible. Like, it was still an amazing performance. And obviously, and the person playing Prospero was fucking incredible. And it works kind of because the whole play is obviously as part of it is Shakespeare's goodbye to the stage. But like it works when you're reading from a script, because Prospero's kind of staging this whole thing himself, so it's kind of like Prospero's play that's playing out, and it worked fucking incredibly. It was just kind of amazing to see actors like at the top of their game like that, which was fun. I think you end up disliking a lot of good literature because you're forced to stay for months and months in school. Yeah, it's probably not a good indication of schooling, is it? I don't really remember all that many things I was forced to study in school, which is probably an even worse indication of the type of schooling that we have. What have you missed, Ryan? Not much. We've been talking about the last video, doing a bit of tunes. Not many big topics yet. I've not gotten particularly angry about anything yet, so we've got time. Yeah, like Michelle H and what other people are saying, there's never like too late for anything. The point. What I was saying with that is not that it was too late, but that there is, when you have gone through a lot of your life with a particular image of yourself and being in particular relation to different communities, that shift is of a different character than what it would be if you come out when you're a teenager, or you become aware of it as you're a teenager, because those are sort of transitory periods in your life, and it becomes sort of part of who you are as an adult. But there's a certain difference in how that plays out when you come out later, and that's not like good or bad necessarily. It's just different, and it leads to sort of different. And because as many people have told me, I over-intellectualize things. It is interesting to me. I should do more work into how it actually feels for me, because that's probably handy as well. But it is a sort of interesting dynamic that I think is kind of fun to understand, but also provides some emotional challenges that I suppose I should unpack. and look inward and emotionally process. Hello, Ro, how's it going? We're just talking about emotionally processing things. I think trying to fit yourself into the community just feels different as an adult age. You're sort of expected to have distinct sense of self at a certain age. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, we're having a great time here. This is what we normally do. We drink wine, we emotionally process. Quank saying, I know what you mean. I grew up in section 28, so it took me a while to fully understand myself. Yeah, that makes sense. Section 28. Fucking great stuff. I guess, you know what we can get mad at? Here we go. Fun stuff of this week is Scottish politics. Want to get mad about Scottish politics? I think we got mad at Scottish politics last time, but we can do it again this time. There's plenty to get mad about. And we'll get there in a second once I catch up on chat. Okay, caught up on chat. Sorry. Yes, so let's talk about Scottish politics. I rarely talk about Scottish politics because it's shit. I'm often kind of boring. Kate Forbes. Yes. So for people who don't know, listen, it's interesting to hear about coming out because for whatever reason I've never gone about explicitly declaring myself to be much of anything. I guess I'm buying trans as what I could have come out with. That is interesting. And to be honest, if I didn't have a platform with which I spoke about this stuff oh, hiya, Bother Boy, how are you doing? That's kind of how I would have just gone about most of this. Has just been like, yeah, this is what I think. There's a change here, and I guess there's a different thing. I'm a little disappointed Abby didn't use the take you were doing of the impression of the dude in her EA video. Yeah, me too. I'm a little bit disappointed in that as well, if I'm going to be honest. But we will get my impression into my video on EA, which we'll be doing, which will come out either this month or next month. I'm tired and wish more eyeballs saw my awesome chat with Hoots about the state of LA and problem with misogyny on the left. Everyone who's in chat right now should go and subscribe to Bother Boy and watch that after the stream, of course. Watch that little watch the conversation that you had with Hoots, who's wonderful as well. What was I saying? I missed my train of thought there. Doesn't matter. Let's talk about Scottish politics. So, for those who don't know, a couple of weeks ago, the long-term First Minister, that's like the sort of head of the Scottish Parliament, resigned. And this was because of long-standing issues with basically her inability to pursue independence, probably in conjunction with long-term issues of teaching unions as well being on strike because the SNP have fucked up teaching for so long, and the teachers have been on strike for a long time, and they look like they will continue to be on strike for a long time, and the routes towards independence appear kind of blocked despite certain polls and all that. Despite what some of the despite what the entirety of the incredibly reactionary press of the UK might have you believe, her decision was not to do with criticism over the Gender Recognition Bill, which is widely supported across Parliament and isn't really causing her much issue on that level. It's being challenged by the UK government via the courts, and that is a fight that could likely be won, but it's not playing into that decision to leave. So, the candidates that are looking to replace this First Minister, who's widely regarded as more progressive than the UK government, which is true in a very limited sense, but not as true as a lot of English liberals would have you believe. The people that are, or at least the person most likely to replace her so far, is this person called Kate Forbes. Now, Kate Forbes is an extremist evangelical Christian from a church called the Wee Frees, a group called the Wee Frees, who hold extremist views on homophobia, on sex before marriage, on trans rights as well, obviously. And for a few weeks, she's been doing the rounds of interviews, basically shooting herself in the foot. Every interview, talking about how she would vote against allowing gay marriage if it was around now, if that bill went through Parliament now. Talking about how she thinks that sex before marriage is a sin, children out of wedlock is a sin. Talking about how she would challenge the gender recognition bill despite it having wide support in Parliament. All this stuff, every bunch of misogyny, bunch of homophobia, bunch of transphobia, and yet she is still the favourite to succeed Nicola Sturgeon. Now, alongside this, the other candidate, Hamza Yusuf, I believe his name is not like that. He is a Muslim man. He has generally progressive views. He's got sort of middle of the road progressive views on all these social issues. Sort of continuity, New Labour, general sort of centre left positions that you would expect. He's fine with gay marriage. He doesn't believe it's a sin. He's said repeatedly, he's voted in support of these things repeatedly, that he's in favour of them. And yet the media in the UK and in Scotland as well, because Scotland is no different from the rest of the UK, a lesson which we have to continue to teach the rest of the UK, as they forget that we are not a progressive paradise. The media keeps asking him questions about whether or not he really believes in gay marriage. And there's no reason to be asking him those questions, because he has said multiple times that he does, except the fact that he is a Muslim. And this ties into what we were talking about in the video, because Muslims are constructed as innately anti-LGBT. Despite what he said multiple times. So it's clear it's just straight Islamophobia. Straight Islamophobia he's been treated with, compared with a lot of the... So despite the fact that Kate Forbes keeps getting asked these questions, a lot of liberal newspapers and commentators are coming out saying it's really unfair for people to question her on these issues, which is bullshit. It's obviously fair. That level of kindness does not seem to get extended to Hamza Yusuf, which is, strange, inconceivable, surely. Yeah. Liberal meritocracy don't sink into right-wing nationalism. Challenge difficult, impossible. Quite. Jacob Rees-Mogg came to Forbes' defence is yeah, exactly. And what's interesting about this is nobody seems to be questioning Sturgeon in all of this. Sturgeon's role in all of this. Her reputation, miraculously, is coming out fairly unscathed, despite the fact that she placed Forbes in that position. This person who is hugely reactionary, a massive misogynist, a massive homophobe, she placed her as a senior member of the cabinet for about a year and a half since she got elected. And nobody seems to be bringing that up. Why this supposedly progressive politician like Nicola Sturgeon would place this outrageous homophobe in this position of power, setting them up to succeed them in certain ways. And of course the reason is because Nicola Sturgeon does not hold any real political principles beyond independence, or what is seen as a tactical way to get independence, which is again why she quit, because she likely saw no tactical way to get there. And it's very strange that very few people are willing to bring this up. And it speaks to the character of the SNP as a political party. It speaks to the character of Nicola Sturgeon as a political leader. And it speaks to the character of our rotten, horrendous media system. So maybe she won't win. I hope she doesn't win. I hope Humza Yousaf wins. The other candidates are also not good. Joanna Cherry is also rumoured to have some support, despite being, one of the foremost transphobes in Parliament. Also on a note, Joanna Cherry never had the whip removed for being openly and horrendously transphobic. She was removed from her position in the cabinet, but remained an SNP MSP. Because the SNP as a political institution can never fully commit to any particular ideal outside of the political norm, because to do so would be to lessen the chance of independence for them. Whether they actually want independence or not, we'll see. I think part of Forbes' clout is being manufactured, because I know some of the polls touted are not of SNP members, but of general people, and maybe even just spectators, readers. Maybe, I don't know. I hope so. Yeah. I mean, it'd be interesting, depressing to test the waters of how racist Scotland is, and the answer is very racist. Should Humza Yousaf win that position? Yeah, because Scotland is very racist, especially against Muslims. So that will be an interesting place for Scotland to be in. Noob on UK politics here. What's the whip? The whip is, when you remove the whip, it basically means that you're kicked out the party. The whip is the mechanism through which the head of the party, tells you which way to vote. So if you're voting on a piece of legislation, a one-line whip means you have a free vote where you can vote for anything. One-line whip means that if you break it, you might have some consequences, but it's not too severe. Two-line whip, it's more severe. Three-line whip, if you break it, you're basically likely to be expelled from your position as a MSP. Obviously, you're not fired from the role of being an MSP, but you're no longer part of that party. Joanna Cherry remained part of the party, so she didn't have the whip removed. Least fun parties invoking whips by far, 100%. It's really boring. Really boring. That's not to say that there's nothing but political commentators are clearly putting the work in to help her. I think that's true as well. I remember you talking about the historical revisionism and Scotland's nationalism, framing Scotland as a progressive underdog, and now we're seeing it take a road to fascism. So it's interesting. There has been a renegotiation to some extent of Scotland's involvement in colonialism, and to some extent nationalism the nationalist movement has contended with it a little bit, and no longer overtly in public settings, although you get it a lot, and a lot of nationalists still believe this, but at the institutional settings they tend not to make such arguments. So it's interesting there's been a renegotiation of that, but I don't think the work has been put in to fully deconstruct it and to fully, but I mean, because it can't, because we're still in the imperial core, part of the neo-colonial relations that, if they were properly contended with, would result in a politics that is far too right, far too correct. I mean, far too left, far too correct than the SNP, than any sort of bourgeois political party can actually contend with, which leads to a lot of actual nationalist supporters still holding on to that kind of perspective of Scotland as a colonial underdog. Yeah, it's shit, isn't it? And Scottish politics is shit. Another thing I get mad at is fucking landlords. When I get mad at landlords, I'll leave you all for 5 minutes, and then I'll come back hot, mad about landlords. Right, I'm back, and I'm ready to be mad about landlords. Oops. There we go. More than I am more than mad at landlords. Yes, quite. I wonder who had the kind of dirt for Nicola Sturgeon to clear. I don't think anyone had the dirt. I just don't think Nicola Sturgeon. I think Nicola Sturgeon probably just had enough of not being able to do independence or having that path blocked, and she herself laid the path for Kate Forbes. To be honest, she gets a lot of kindness for her role in a lot of really regressive politics. Does Nicola Sturgeon? Yeah. So, great video as usual. Just subbed on Patreon. More Scottish rants on landlords and neoliberalism, please. Thank you. I will send you your welcome message on Patreon with all the links and all the stuff after this stream. Thanks for subscribing. Yeah. So fucking landlord story. So my brother. This isn't to do with me. I'm angry on behalf of someone else. Oh, don't we all, bothered boy? My brother's been evicted by his landlord after 5 months of living in a place. After he lives in Edinburgh. Edinburgh's rental situation is fucked, man. It's fucked. It's so bad. Part of the reason for it is the festival, the Edinburgh Festival, where a lot of Airbnbs have been bought up, and the air jamming with the tune makes me realize how close the E flat 7 and the G minor chord is. Oh yeah. So the Edinburgh Festival has been talking about like increasing using like skips and like using a bunch of fucking mad shit to provide accommodation for people because it's so much it's so oversubscribed in terms of accommodation. And it's so expensive, and that has impacted the general ability of people to live in Edinburgh, who want to live in Edinburgh, who need to live in Edinburgh, who have jobs in Edinburgh. So it took my brother months and months to find a flat, and eventually find a place. And he was just settling in there. He'd been living there for 5 months before the landlords came back, and were like, we're actually trying to redo this holiday home in Skye, and we don't have enough money to do it, and neither of us have jobs, so we need to sell this place, and you're being evicted. And they were trying to be and they gave them a month's notice to evict, to get out, and they were trying to be like, oh, this is so hard for us having to evict you, and our life is so hard. And my brother was like, it was like they wanted my brother and his partner to apologize to them, or to like commiserate with them about why they're evicting them, and they were being weird about it. So my brother's having to move back in with my parents, and the day of their eviction came yesterday, and these fucking people came into the flat that they're evicting them from, so they can redo their holiday home in fucking Skye, and started complaining that it was too dusty, that it was disgusting, and threatening to take half of their fucking deposit away because to clean the place, despite the fact that they're evicting them for their fucking holiday home. And basically shouted at them to, like, my brother said, they shouted at them to get out the flat, and as they were leaving, shouted disgusting after them, which is, and when my brother told me this, I started like shaking with rage, fully just like fucking shaking with rage. Apparently my brother's partner was like on the verge of just shouting back at them and was fully shaking as well. But like, how scummy do you have to be to evict a couple, One of them a teacher, the other one who worked, literally worked on the coronavirus, one of the coronavirus vaccines, who used to work in HIV vaccination, just to shout at these two people who have struggled so hard, who have paid you money for fuck all, for a place being too dusty, to shout disgusting at them because you want your fucking holiday home. Absolute scum behaviour. And it's the only, so right now there's like a largely, to some extent, an evictions moratorium in Scotland. One of the few exceptions is if the people are selling the flat. Absolute bastards. There's something about viewing people as commodities to get money. Well, there's something about it. You're viewing people as commodities to get money from them that makes you completely dehumanize them. And like, no matter how good a landlord seems, they're always bastards because of that. Yeah, exactly. Going, all landlords are bastards because of that specific thing. They completely dehumanize and treat people like absolute shit because they pay off their fucking mortgages. Oh, I was so mad. I was just watching the Meg, and my brother sent these messages. I was like, I'm fucking so mad about this. God, I'm so mad. I was so angry. Yeah, I'm so, like Mike Wilson saying, I'm so sorry you have to sell the house that I'm living in. Oh, God, it must be so hard. It must be so hard to sell the house that I'm living in that you're not, so that you can live in another house somewhere else that you're redoing. Absolute ridiculous. Fucking raging. How long have you been playing a guitar, and what got you started? I've been playing since I was 10 years old. So almost 20 years. Oh my god. That's a long time. Oh my god. What got me started was that my brother also played the guitar, and I used to look up to him. A different brother. But I used to look up to him a lot. And that's what got me started. He started trying to teach me, but he was not a good teacher. Ironically, he now is also a teacher. Again, different brother. Both of my brothers are teachers. He was not a good teacher of guitar though. But that's what got me started. Yeah, at least landlords admitted that they didn't have jobs. And apparently they said to them, we have no idea what to do except to sell this place. And my brother was just like, you could get a fucking job. You could just get a job. You don't have to sell us out. You could get a job. Not the 100 laps of the outdoor pool permit, brother. The 100 laps brother is the one who's getting evicted. The non-100 laps brother is the one who tried to teach me guitar and was really bad at it. Am I right or wrong in thinking Scotland has slightly better tenancy rights than England? I think you are right. I don't know the specific details. It might be different. That's not quite better. I'd have to do research into that. For a while, it looked like England might get some better tenancy agreements stuff, tenants' rights stuff, but that bill got killed. So I just don't know the standards of it right now. At the moment, there is an evictions moratorium except in specific circumstances. The one those specific circumstances are if you're selling a place. These landlords are afraid of nothing, and that is something that maybe we should change. My brother has a similar story about English landlords. I mean, everyone, absolutely. I did a video about landlords a while back, well, about housing a while back, and just like invited people to share their landlord stories in the comments, and absolutely everybody has a shit landlord story. I don't know if I've met anyone who doesn't have a shit landlord story. I've got several. I think this place that I'm living in right now is maybe the only place Well, apart from maybe one other, the only place I've lived that the landlords aren't shit, and the only reason the landlords aren't well, they're shit in the sense that they're landlords, but they don't bother us, and I've not tried to move out yet, but it's because it's like a housing association, so it's like dealing with a corporation, which is a different kind of shit, but it's not quite the sort of personalised fuckery that you get with personal landlords. I have so many shit landlord stories. My God, so many. So many, including the one about getting evicted during the pandemic. Which I think I've told on stream before. Lol, the Meg. Yeah, my flatmate showed me the Meg last night. I'd never seen it before. That is not a good film. It is very fun, but in terms of films go, the Meg, a bad one. Everything about that film, I love how it's like, it's maybe the most made for the Chinese market film that I've ever seen, because I tend to avoid American films made for the Chinese market because they tend to not be good. But yeah, I watched it last night. I had some fun. It was bad, and I also got angry during it. And then complaining that the place isn't clean, that they'll insist you only use the pre-approved cleaning service, which is obviously more expensive. So I had a landlord in a place in Glasgow. This fucking guy. Hi Sanan, how's it going? This fucking guy. When we were moving out, was like, why don't you guys, to me, my friends. To me and my friends, we were moving in together, and my two friends were a couple. We were all in our, at this point, early 20s, and he said to us, "Oh, why don't you just buy your place? I've got 3 places in Glasgow already," and we were just sort of sitting there like, maybe the reason people can't buy places is because you've got 3 in Glasgow already. Maybe that might have something to do with it, and so this fucking guy, one time he had the weirdest stories that he insisted on telling me. He'd pop round at random intervals. But when we were moving out, they decided to rip out the bathroom, because for the entire 2 years we've been living there, there'd been problems with the bathroom. We had a shower bath, and it had been leaking to the flat downstairs. We've been trying to get the landlord to fix it for 2 years. And the poor old lady who lived down the stairs was obviously freaking out, because anytime she went to the shower, there was water leaking from her ceiling, and that's really dangerous. And the guy never fixed it. He came back with some caulk, and he'd sealed up the bath, and it never solved the problem. There's nothing we could do about it. There was nowhere else we could shower, there was nowhere else we could wash, and he wouldn't fix it. And when we were moving out, they started tearing out the bathroom, and discovered that the floor of the bathroom was like a centimetre, it was bulging. It was any day could have fallen through. The bath could have fallen through and crushed the woman downstairs. And so he started, he got workmen in to fix it. And this happened on the day that we were moving out. And as we were moving out, he tried to charge us. He tried to take our whole rent, our whole deposit, because it was dusty. While there were men with sledgehammers battering through the walls of the bathroom, he complained that the flat was too dusty and that he would need to take our deposit from us. And while it was my flatmate who was there talking to him, and he said that when the landlord told him that, all the builders just stopped working and just looked at him like, what? You're trying to take these 22-year-olds deposits for dust that we are making? It was outrageous. And that's not even my worst landlord story. That's just one of many of my bad landlord stories. Because landlords, fucking parasites. Oh, man. Alternative plan: 1, get a job; 2, sell your holiday home. Holiday homes on islands, parasitic houses in 2 locations. Yeah, especially in Skye. Skye specifically has a problem with tourists and holiday homes. It's like Cornwall. There's a real problem with that amount of holiday homes and that amount of tourists in these areas, because local economies get totally battered and off seasons get fucked, and they just get loads of people with infrastructure and with economies that can't absorb them coming in during summer seasons, taking up the housing. You have it to a limited degree in Shetland, but the Shetland Islands fucking flush with oil money, so they don't really care that much. But like yeah, Skye particularly and Cornwall are really bad for that shit. Fucking, they need to be afraid again, man. They need to be afraid again. And if anyone cuts this bit out of the stream to stop me getting a job, you need to be afraid again. I should not say this stuff. When I was getting evicted because they wanted to turn the place into a student digs, despite 99% of the tenants being student, I had to resist the urge of sending them a mini guillotine. Yeah. Large faceless corporations tend to be easier to deal with because they mostly just leave you alone until absolutely needed. Yeah. The problem with large. So one of the main things, one of the good things about not dealing with a large faceless corporation is that, and this is not true 100% of the time because large faceless corporations obviously also still make mistakes, but when it's personal landlords, they always make mistakes with the law 100% of the time. Every eviction is almost certainly illegal in some way because they're bad at filing paperwork, they're bad at doing the right processes, they've just fucked up in certain ways. So if you want to challenge them in small claims court, you almost certainly can, and you almost certainly will win. The issues are the time and money that it takes to take those places to take the people to small claims court in the first place. If you, in the UK, if you qualify for legal aid, it's probably worth doing it. Although very few people at this point qualify for legal aid, but it's worth looking into. If you can afford it, it's also worth doing it. The tricky spot is if you are in that middle point when you don't get legal aid and you still can't afford to hire solicitors and lawyers to do it for you, then you're kind of fucked. But landlords, personal landlords, 100% almost certainly will have done a legal eviction to you because they just don't know what they're doing. They have not made themselves aware of the law. They will be doing illegal shit just through incompetence. Tends not to be the case, or at least to the same degree, with large faceless corporations who tend to have lawyers and big legal departments and processes in the way to make sure that they're not doing as illegal shit as they probably will still be doing illegal shit because, let's face it, they're corporations. But there's a higher chance that you're probably going to be able to get some shit out of them for personal landlords. That's how I got shit out of my last landlord. I got my full deposit back despite fucking him over after he fucked me over, because I did a bunch of legal sounding threats about him not having my deposit in a safe deposit scheme, and he was just like, alright, take your fucking deposit. My flatmate won a whole bunch of money off of his old landlord because they'd done a bunch of illegal shit, and he got, I think, a year's worth of rent back from them. Great stuff. Yeah. They're almost certainly doing something illegal, and it's probably the case with my brother that they're also almost certainly doing illegal shit. But the time and cost that it would take to prove that shit is a lot and more, and that's what a lot of the landlords rely on, is the people's time. They don't have the time or the money if they don't qualify for legal aid to do it. We almost did it for another old flatmate that tried, a landlord that tried to take us for like an extra month's rent. We could have taken them to small claims court, I'm sure, and we would have won. But we were students at the time. We didn't have the money and we didn't have the time, unfortunately. Yeah. Yeah. Hello, me and M. I've done the place for 6 years, left the place nicer than we found it, and was always on time with the rent. They still tried to keep her deposit. Yeah, they're absolute scum. They are absolute scum. I've got a friend who's being evicted after living in a place for 6 years. And they're home for 6 years because landlords are greedy scum. Greedy scum. Fingers crossed for you, Kiki. I hope they're not too bad. Michelle H, if we hadn't been making constant complaints about the bathroom, they probably would have done. But we'd been on it, and we had clear paper trails that they couldn't blame us for the state of the bathroom on that story. Just something that they couldn't do. Any tips for moving out? I mean, make sure that you know the law in your particular place. You can find out that stuff. I mean, first of all, everyone should be, if there is one in your area, should be part of a renters union. If there's not one in your area, you should consider starting a renters union, because in the end of the day, the only way to fully have any sense of certainty that you will have support is if you do it collectively. So that would be my first piece of advice to anyone getting in or out of a property, living in a property, renting with anyone, is to join or start your renters union. If you are in one, then you should be able to find people in that union who are aware of the law for when you're moving out. They can tell you what to do, what to be aware of, and how to help. And beyond that, you clean as well as you can. Don't take shit, and try and be aware of things like email chains where landlords have spoken to you about particular things. An old landlord I had lied to me, but lied to me over the phone and not via an email where I could tell. So that's something to be aware of as well, to try and get them in shit on writing, because they're fuckers, sleazy little slimy fuckers like that. Yeah, I think Louisa Ruth, and then my brother would have to worry about retaliation. Yeah, I think that is also another consideration that he had in mind when he was thinking about it. And that's why renters should join Living Rent or similar ASB. Yeah, you're damn right, Alan Graham, 100%. I thought the justice system was just ruthless on anyone trying to fight landlords. It depends on what you mean by the justice system. So it's hard to get into court. If you get legal aid and you can do it, then because these are like that's not like when you're fighting a landlord in court. Most of the time, there's not much blurry about what you're fighting about. Normally, the laws are very clear. If they've broken it, it's very, very clear. So it's normally quite an easy case to win. The problem is actually getting to the court rather than winning in court. Once you've gotten to court, so it's the legal aid, it's the finding solicitors, it's the money and time that's spent getting you into the building that's the main issue, rather than being in the building. Because if you get to the building, then you've got a solicitor who's probably confident that you will win, and they will give you advice on that particularly if you've got a good solicitor. Most housing solicitors genuinely want to do right by their clients, and they will advise you on the right course of action to do it. It is just getting those solicitors, getting the money, getting the legal aid together for them. My landlord is technically speaking a pile. My landlord is technically speaking a pile of money. So they just okay, yeah, sure. It's nice to be left alone. The most ideal thing with a landlord is just being left alone. Yes, always take photos before you leave. That's a very good piece of advice as well. And if you can, when you're moving into a place, take photos as well. So you've got photos from before and after you leave, then you've got some proof of the condition of a place. We did that, I did that in my last place in Glasgow, and they took some money away to hire a professional cleaning service, which was absurd because my flatmate at the time was herself the most absurd cleaner I've ever met. So there was absolutely no reason to do it. But yeah, they took money from a professional cleaning service, but they couldn't take anything else because we had the photos to back up everything. Had a landlord once who would just walk in when he pleased and would use the kitchen whenever he wanted, smoked inside and dumped all his trash in the yard. He still tried to squeeze us for a deposit, citing the mess in the yard as a reason. Wow, if this is in the UK, all of that is highly illegal. Highly illegal. Man, organised countries sound great. Most rents where I live are not registered, and even the ones that are have minimal things like going for them in terms of the law because there isn't much regulation. Yeah, in cases like that, I don't know what to say except just the need for collective organising is much stronger as well. If they're in the UK, shelter's a good resource for advice. Yep, shelter's a good resource for advice as well. They have legal aid teams. They are a charity, so that's a slightly different. I would still suggest, even if you use shelter, to join, build some collective power via community or renters union on top of that, because they have a limited amount that shelter can do. They do good work, but it's only limited. Just threatening landlords with before and after photos can work because landlords are lazy. 100% true. They're lazy. That's why they don't know the law. Right, let's do another track. We've been ragging on landlords for too long. We could do another track and then, I don't know, have a chat about something else. I don't know. We'll figure something out. We've still got wine to go. Might do a slower track. See how we're feeling. Yeah, C minor. There we go. A more chilled out one. For how much wine have we got left? I'm hunching a bit on this. Plenty. Time. One more glass after this. The abbreviation LMAU comes from landlords versus MAU. That is true. That is a true fact. How's the kitty? I don't know. Should we do a bit of Should we grab the cat? See a bit of cat action. See if he's asleep. Sound off for cat. Sound off for cat in chat, and we'll see if we want to bring him in. E minor, B minor, D is my guess. The blues by the standard. It's E minor, B major 7th. C major 7th, B minor. Yeah. All right, let's get the cat in. He was asleep on his little perch, so he's in a tired mood. Cat incoming. Yeah, here he is. Hello, beastie. Don't try to. Yep, he's sticking his head in my armpit. Oh no, it's because he's trying to eat my headphones. Stop trying to eat my headphones. There you go. Okay, sure. Yep. He likes rubbing his face against mine. Okay. What's his name? His name is Anton. He's a little Russian man. Have I been eating on my bed? I don't eat in my bed. He is extremely cute. This is what it looks like if he was playing the piano. Man, he's really just staring at me, isn't he? Like everybody knows that cats where the real interest lies. The main reason people come to the stream is so they can get a glimpse of the cat about 2.5 hours in. And he's not being a wee bastard because he's too tired. My dog recently swallowed an entire Bluetooth earbud, the one that the app locator tracked. My dog once, I had a dog that once ate through a door because she wanted to play with, she really liked children and she wanted to play with the children outside, so she ate through the door to get to the children. One time she ate Easter by breaking into a room and eating all the Easter eggs. Had another dog that ate a bunch of like Play-Doh, so he did kind of Play-Doh poos for a while. That dog also ate the dog training book, and we've got some dogs that done some shit. He is so soft. He's the softest little boy. Aren't you? You are. Wee bastard is a favourite phrase, yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, the main people go online is for cats. Yeah, I mean, this dog ate so much, and she lived for so long. She ate so many things that she shouldn't have eaten, including, again, a full door. And yet she lived for till she was like 14. She was an old dog when she died. He's taking a look at the wires, seeing which wire he can attack. He likes to go for wires. Oh, you had a dog that swallowed one. I had one of our dogs swallowed several socks whole. One time having to go to the vet and get surgery to remove the sock, and then the vet laundered the sock and delivered it back to us after it had been removed from his intestinal tract, because he was a dipshit. He was the stupidest dog that ever existed. He was beautiful, a lovely dog. But he did that several times. He's getting excited, you can tell by the tail flapping. He's thinking of some chaos to cause. The other day he totally ruined. I was growing some herbs and he totally just ruined them. Completely cowped them all over the floor. Oh, I think he's farted. Great stuff. You're leaving now, you stinky boy. Good lord. Oh my god. I must have squeezed him too hard. Good lord. That was bad. That was bad. Yeah, he was too relaxed and I squeezed him too much. Because when you squeeze this cat, he like squeaks. He lets out little squeaks when you hug him tightly, which is adorable. It also means that sometimes he farts. Now that we've done the cat, we can get onto the historical materialism. Ask me a question and we'll get there. What, you think cats don't fart? I've had cats that farted my whole life. Cats farts. For ages I'd never smelt a cat fart. My parents' cat, the first time I smelled a cat fart was my parents' cat during the pandemic. Because he used to sleep in my room because I gave him lots of attention. I think most of the time when cats fart, they go outside to do it. He came into my room that time and he let rip, and it was worse than any dog fart I've smelled in my entire life. It was so bad. And this cat fucking farts as well. This fucking guy. He fucking farts. It can clear a room. It's toxic. It's noxious. It's awful. It's like burning. It's not good. He may be cute, but fucking hell, he smells. His breath as well. That cat's breath. Outrageous. And he is on like the fanciest of diets. He's on like this wet food delivery beautiful diet. This cat farts. Joe Arnold. Smelly cat's defense mechanism deployed. Has someone seen? Yeah. You previously worked for an NGO. I'm considering doing that versus working for my country foreign office. US aligned. One feels like selling out for profit and one can have moral implications. Any advice? I mean, I generally would advise you not to work for a government, especially a foreign office, especially one that is aligned with the US, because that is you're gonna find yourself depressed very quickly. My experience working in an NGO was not great. The charity sector is, I mean, like all employers, bad, but the charity sector a lot of the time relies on assuming that you're doing the job because you want to be there, you want to do good, and doing a bit of ridiculous over-exploitation, horrendous exploitation of you because you do stuff out of the good of your heart and because you want to help. So they can really get you. And they can also be really... the NGO I worked for was run just by friends and friends of the CEOs, and there was a bunch of real dodgy shit going on because it was an NGO and because they all felt like they were doing good and because it was all run by friends. So there's things... I mean, I think working for an NGO is probably better than working for a US-aligned foreign department. But be careful going into it and be aware of what happens in those sort of organisations. At the end of the day, a job's a job, and we all just have to minimise the harm that we're doing in terms of those jobs. A foreign office is going to be pretty bad, not going to lie. You're going to do some shit working for a foreign office. Yeah. Cats absolutely do fart, and they're uniquely terrible. 100%. They're so bad. They're like, it's outrageous. Dog farts can be bad, but this cat farts there's something special about them. It's this a real danger zone, a cat fart. Sometimes I think about getting a pet, and then I hear horrifying stories of cats committing all over someone's Xbox, and I'm swiftly disabused of the notion. I mean, he's trying to get in now. I love the little animal. He is my flatmate's cat. So I have none of the responsibility and all of the pleasure of it, which is great. And I love that little bastard. He does cause mess, and he does smell sometimes. And he does sometimes attack your leg when you're trying to go to the toilet. And one time he tried to scrape up my up my bathrobe, which was not good. But oftentimes he lies in bed and purrs while he's lying on my chest, and that's great. It's really good stuff. Top class, top notch. I really appreciate it. The rest of the stuff is secondary. Have we tried giving the cat a cheap cat diet? He's on a very specific diet that my flatmate, who's in chat right now, that's Tamash, has researched and has got him a very specific cat diet. It was he used to fart more. He did used to fart more when he was on that cheaper diet, I will say. What do I think of Chomsky, but also specifically his criticisms of Marxism? I think Chomsky's stuff is... I mean, the works of his that I've read are Manufacturing Consent, which is a excellent piece of work and should be read basically by anyone and everyone. And I've also read his book on anarchism. I think that's what it's called, on anarchism, which was the direct opposite, which was really, really bad. I didn't think it was a good piece of work. I didn't think it was a good introduction to anarchism. I didn't think it was particularly valuable, and It had a weird section at the end about how linguistics had nothing to do with his left-wing politics, or language theory had nothing to do with his left-wing politics, which was odd because I immediately read afterwards Black Skin, White Masks, which had sections on linguistics and language and how important they were for left-wing politics. I saw recently he had a criticism of... Oh yes, this is what I was. So I saw a video on TikTok of Chomsky talking about how capitalism has never existed and instead we have state capitalism, and I think that's incredibly silly. I think that's just really, it's just silly. I don't think that's got any basis in it. Like, it doesn't really mean anything. Because any distinction between state capitalism as something that exists in the US and the UK and any sort of pure capitalism is at best a massive theoretical abstraction which has very little to do with the actual formal workings of capitalism, and at worst an obfuscation of what capitalism as a social organising whole actually is. In terms of his actual criticisms of Marxism, I've not read enough of those to provide any general critiques of them. I suspect I will have some, just judging on that sort of work that I've read, but I can't say specifically. Is he saying that ANCAP is the only true capitalism? Perhaps. It's unclear from that clip I saw. I think the general argument is that capitalism as a system requires some level of state interventionism because of the generic, because of the general laws that exist within it, which is true. But to say that state interventionism is somehow separate from a pure form of capitalism is to create a distinction and an obfuscation of what capitalism as a social whole actually is, and to sort of take what are formal laws of particular aspects of capitalism and make them into a definable whole for what capitalism is. And I don't think that's useful. I don't think it tells you anything unique about what capitalism is, and I don't think it's valuable for analysing the kinds of system we have. I don't think it's a valuable rhetorical strategy for convincing people to move beyond it. I don't think it's particularly useful or good. So that his work on manufacturing consent and on media bias, extremely good. He clearly, I would have to read more to have a more general opinion on him. Oh, you know who did fucking annoy me though? Oh, we can get angry on this one. Let me catch up and chat and see, and then I'll get annoyed. Charities of their problems can be very exploitative, fighting fires a lot of the time rather than getting at the heart of the problem. Can't confirm. Yeah, it wasn't fun working for a charity, I can tell you that. What do my cat's farts telling us about the necropolitics of neoliberalism? I'm about to give my dog a bath, which she hates. Wish me oh, good luck. We used to have a big Labrador, the one who ate the socks. And one time when my brother was about 21 and living at home, he would have been older than that. He would have been about 22, 23, post his university days. He was unemployed and living at home, looking for jobs. And my mum got a call at work because she was terrified. He was terrified that the dog was having a stroke because he was shaking uncontrollably. This massive Labrador shaking uncontrollably in his bed. But it turns out that it was just because he was terrified because my brother had started running the bath and he thought he was going to get bathed. And this dipshit dog was just terrified of it, that he started shaking like a leaf and wouldn't stop until the bath was fully drained, and hours later, and we had to sit with him and calm him down. Strange animal. Yeah, state capitalism thing seems to be a favourite idea of his to espouse. Yes, it's just not good. Seems to me doesn't have any particular intellectual merit or rhetorical merit. Don't know about it. Do I think Scottish independence breakup of the UK is actually close and would actually help anything for ordinary UK or Irish people? I don't know. I don't know if it's close or not. It's hard to tell. I don't think it's happening. I don't think it will happen anytime within the next 5 years anyway. Within the next 5, maybe even the next 10 years. It's hard to see how public opinion on it will fare post Sturgeon. And it's hard to... And then there's the institutional bloc. The SNP has become pretty comfortable where it is. Whether it wants to really push for independence or become sort of a controlled opposition within a political system. Calling for independence but not actually wanting it. But whether it will help people, the only thing recently that I have thought independence would actually help people with was with the Gender Recognition Act in Scotland, where that has been the one case where I've thought this is something which trans comrades of mine can immediately get an immediate and clear material benefit from Scottish independence. Otherwise, I am suspicious that there would be much particular benefit to it in terms of actual class politics. I think as a bourgeois politics, I'm not sure that it pushes any real liberation beyond a bourgeois frame. I don't think it advances any actual class politics beyond that. The specific case of the Gender Recognition Bill is one which I think is an immediate and a clear benefit to trans comrades. And aside from that, I don't know. Chomsky's gotten worse with his takes as he's gotten older, in my opinion. I couldn't tell you. Not been paying enough attention to Chomsky to say. Have I got to D'Souza's writing on rights? He's written some phenomenal stuff regarding international politics, colonialism and how it's got to. I haven't. I will have to check that out. My work on rights is very domestic politics focused because of where it is at the moment, and just the focus of my research. I feel like a lot of the stuff on international politics and rights is quite clearly that there are very clear dynamics at play. Like it's very neo-colonial, and there's only a very limited thing that people can do with that neo-colonial frame, especially within the bounds of an international legal system, like the human rights system. But some of the trends that are at play within my research might exist on an international plane. I'd have to do some more research into that. What is settler colonialism? Oh, big questions. Settler colonialism is a system. I am drunk, so this is not going to be a great answer. But it's a system of imperialism whereby, or colonialism, whereby the population stays in the country that it's colonizing and sets up a new system, often forming a new state system on top of the previously existing often variety of nations that already exist. And that system is intimately tied, normally, no, not exclusively, to the metropole of power, whether that is the capitalist imperial core or when there were less core periphery dynamics to various different cores and peripheries. There are some cases where settler colonialism hasn't been tied specifically to that core, but as you go through different dimensions and different leaps of capital connections, you end up getting there quite quickly. So I mean, going back to the video, Israel is a very good example of a settler colony. It was a bunch of people from Europe going to a land that had previous nations, not just like previous nations on that land, and setting up a new state on top and excluding, often exterminating, the nations on which this new state is built. Nationalism also leads to weird places a lot of the time. Yes, talk to any racial minority person in Scotland about nationalism and how they've experienced racism within Scottish nationalism. They will undoubtedly have answers for you that is tied to nationalism. So let's get angry. Ben Burgess. God, I hate Ben Burgess. Oh, I hate Ben Burgess. So for anyone who doesn't know, last week Zizek put out an article that's basically that's my secret, I'm always angry. I just got here, are we angry at people who come out as colonialists? Yeah, we're always angry at people who are colonialists. So Zizek put in an article that is filled with inaccuracies, lies, misrepresentations of gender clinics in the UK. Basically making a massive transphobic lie, invoking like a conspiracy of woke trans lobby people who are in some sense influencing the state or being subsumed into capital or some bullshit argument. Basic transphobic conspiracy stuff, lying, making up facts, being inaccurate, classic Zizek stuff. Can you contrast that with an example of non-settler colonialism? I guess British Empire in India? Yes, that would be a good example. British Empire in India, sometimes things can be settler colonies and then stop being settler colonies as they become decolonized. But yeah, India would be a good example. There wasn't really a settler colony in India, right? There was colonial administration of India. I might, please correct me on facts there wrong, because I've not done a huge amount of research into that. Zizek did some ignorant and unresearched terrible take. Yeah, exactly. Fucking Ben Burgess comes out and is like, well, I think the most important part of this article is when Zizek says the real issue isn't this transphobic conspiracy theory, but actually where he says that capitalism co-opts this specific thing. And it's like, fucking hell, Ben. You fucking tedious, boring prick. The reason he says that stuff about how the real issue is some co-option is so that credulous dipshits and disingenuous shitheads can use that line to run cover for him and claim that he's not actually doing transphobic conspiracy theories, which he clearly is. And the only reason I can see Ben doing it, because I don't think he's a credulous dipshit, is because I think he is a disingenuous wanker who is fully playing that. This was actually something. Actually, I won't say that. He's playing that role that he does of being like the left-wing voice who's willing to say conservative shit, so that he has a respectable place to do his bullshit. And he's done this so often, Ben Burgess. This sort of nonsense, like, oh, actually, if you think about it, it's actually a very, very relevant point about capitalist subsumption, blah, 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 blah. When it's clearly, like, racist, misogynistic bullshit. Transphobic as well. Every time he does this shit, it's like, it has no merit. I want to be very clear here. His work has no merit for any left-wing politics. And I don't understand how he's so popular. A guy his book is how to win arguments about fucking being on the left. That's not how left-wing politics works. That's the only way you think left-wing politics works by winning arguments is if you have never been involved in any kind of organising on the ground, where it's not arguments that you're winning. You don't convince people by beating them in an argument. And this is the sort of shit that he does, playing along with a bunch of logic and weaselly bullshit to make some nonsense fucking socially conservative point. I legit hate him so much. Sometimes people ask me who my enemies are, like the sort of celebrity enemies who they don't know they're your enemy. Brian Cox, not the actor, the science spaceman, and Ben Burgess. Those are my two. He annoys me so much. I never got Zizek's popularity. Sounds like a typical boomer in local bar giving philosophy lecture to another drunk. Yeah, I mean, he's not done anything for decades. He did like one, as far as I can tell, one book that had merit, and then just plagiarized himself. Makes up a bunch of fake quotes. Does some pop fucking sociology or philosophy bullshit. Farts around and makes a shitty joke. I also know for a fact that he was incredibly racist to a friend of mine. When a friend of mine went to his summer school in New York, he was incredibly racist to him. So fuck Zizek, fully. I don't think he's valuable as a meme figure either at this point. I don't think you should get rid of him. I read one of his books once, which was The Courage of Hopelessness, and it was trash. It was filled with Islamophobia, it was nonsense, it had nothing of value to give. So yeah, fuck Zizek and the people who defend him, including Ben Burgess. So much yes, I often think Zizek or Burgess are more dangerous as they seek to dress up the bigotry in leftist progressive sounding language and try to enter into discourse this way. Yeah, exactly. I think that's true. I don't know how much Zizek does it, because as far as as in dresses up the language, as far as I've read from Zizek stuff, it's barely dressed up. It's just straight up. As like among some other vague left-wing points, he has a bunch of real social conservatism that's not dressed up. It's Burgess who does the dressing up, which is our playing cover for others, which is just nonsense and bullshit. It made me so angry when I saw that. To read a piece at a time when, again, and this was like weeks after a 16-year-old trans girl was murdered, in the environment which is producing violence towards, particularly though not exclusively, trans women. To take that, write an article about a transphobic conspiracy theory in the UK is to further the harm done towards that community. And then, as a supposed left-wing figure, to run some disingenuous bullshit nonsense cover for it because you have some idea that because you want to pretend that making a random sentence in the middle of a screed of transphobia about capitalist subsumption or co-option of marginalized groups' interests, to think that's relevant to any discussion and not actually doing harm, makes me lose any lingering respect that I might have of you. Just absolutely nothing. And I wish that other people, other content creators on the left would cut their ties with this obvious fucking fraud, and make clear that what he's doing is harming people with this nonsense, with this bullshit, contributing to an environment that gets people killed. Yeah, I got very angry about Ben Burgess the other day, and it made me angry again. So that's something I was angry about. Want to do a review video about his book in the future. I thought the raccoon guy was cool since he argued with Peterson. Yeah, the interesting thing about his debate with Peterson is how bad it was in terms of like. So obviously Zizek won that debate because he's arguing with a man who's not sharp. But Zizek's understanding of Marx is not good, and he gave so much room to Peterson in that debate. And the only reason he would do that is because he's willing to. It wasn't. I don't think it was a good examination of Marx. I don't think it was a good elucidation of Marx. I don't think it was a good deconstruction of Peterson's views. It was a meme thing. I had people for years and years telling me to go and read Zizek, and then I did, and I was like, this is trash. This is not good. This is not good work. And I'm sure I've not read his supposedly good book, which is like on pure ideology, the critique of pure ideology or something, which from people I respect I have heard is actually one good work. But anything I've read of his since then has been without merit. Maybe I might read Burgess's book at some point and I don't know, do a book review of it on Patreon or something. Probably won't do a video on it because what would be the fucking point? That kind of I feel like that kind of book and that kind of content has died a death. The notion that we can argue our way to left-wing politics has, I think, died a death. I think it was a very specific time where that had any sort of cultural cachet. I think that's died a death now. I think the fact that an obvious Sud like Jordan Peterson has defenders in the field of philosophy is really an indictment of philosophy as a field. Quite. I don't think the field of philosophy is in too much good stead. Although I did political science as an undergrad, so I'm not particularly on solid footing there. By the way, John, want to see something fun and silly? Today's video is 44 seconds long. I'll take a look at that after this. Hello, Pinko Punko. You just missed me getting mad about Zizek and Ben Burgess. Being very mad about how shit both of those people are and why nobody on the left should give them the fucking time of day, and yet they continue to do so, probably because of latent issues. Out of curiosity, who are the people you respect? I respect so many people. In terms of like public intellectual figures, who are some public intellectual figures? Gargi Bhattacharya. She's excellent. Her book Empire's Endgame, excellent. I don't know. It's easier to think of people who have annoyed me more than people who I immediately respect, because there's so many people whose work has been influential and that I respect. And a lot of the time they're not necessarily public intellectuals, because, and I mean this self-critically as well, to be a public intellectual and assume that your opinion has a value to it, that everyone should hear it, is to have a certain amount of ego that is often not matched by the content. Again, I mean, this is a self-criticism too. I knew Zizek was bad the moment he didn't pass my partner's vibe check and she called him an incel. I mean, he isn't an incel, but I do understand what you mean. I do think Chomsky probably... I think Chomsky is in another league to the likes of Zizek and Peterson and Ben Burgess. Even if I do disagree with him, I would certainly say his work is much more valid and much more consistent in what I've seen of it than anything that Burgess or Zizek or whatever have produced. What about Hassan? I'm aware of Hassan. I not really watched his streams. It's just I don't have time to watch streams these days. So I can't really speak on the quality of his work or anything. Yeah, I can't really speak to the quality of him as a figure, as a political influencer. I know he's got a massive platform. I've seen occasionally, when I've ever seen his streams or seen clips of his streams, it's the thing that gets me is just how does he read the chat? Because I have trouble, like, I feel bad when I miss people in chat, and I have trouble keeping up with this slow-moving chat. Fucking hell, I don't know how he does it. Zizek understood Marx better than Peterson, meaning he clears the lowest bar possible. Yeah, quite. Yeah, I've watched some more news. I've watched some of their stuff on Peterson. Some more news is... again, I just don't have time to keep up with people. I like some more news though. They're good. I like Cody. Cody's very funny. Yeah. Shall we do another track? We'll do another track, and that'll probably be the last track of the evening. I'll finish this and then pour another one. Let's get a last track of the evening. Let's get upbeat. Took a while. Took a while to fall onto that one, but we got there in the end. We're still on Jordan Peterson, are we? That strange little man. Pinko Punko. It's just a bunch of bullshit in the end. Yeah, that Dang Dad's fun. And it was good to be. I'm glad he asked me to be part of that. It's nice to be asked. Nice to be asked to do stuff despite not being able to add much to it. Oh, you started reading Damien's book. That's good. I'm sure Damien will be very, very pleased if I tell him I'm promoting his book on to subscribers. Damien's very funny. He's been extremely encouraging, and it is like a little cheerleader with me sometimes, which is very fun. We were at a departmental Christmas party, obviously at Christmas time, and a bunch of people, including the head of our institute, the head of our department, came up to him and was like, "Oh, Damien's been telling me, John, that you're a social media star," and I was like, I guess. and they were like, we would like you to, could you give us advice on how to promote the university's Twitter feeds, because you've got lots of subscribers on Twitter and YouTube, we hear. And I was like, I mean, maybe, but I'm not sure my specific brand of communist shit posting is gonna do that well for the institute Twitter feed. So yeah, exactly. And I was at a friend of mine who's also one of Damien's students. Was also at his. We were at his graduation the other week. And he spent the entire time, he introduced me to his family as oh, this is John. He does the YouTube videos I've been showing you. And I was like, oh my God. And his family had the most disinterested looks on their faces. Just clearly they'd been clearly my friend had been showing these videos, being like, God, this is great. And they'd been like, yeah, yep. Sure, whatever. They were so disinterested, and my friend, bless him, was like, "Oh, I was so excited!" He was so excited about chatting to me about it, and he's been thinking about starting his own channel and everything, and he's lovely. He's such a lovely guy, and he knows so much about it. He's fucking massive brain. It's just so funny. Watch, and he was trying to explain it to his aged father, what we're doing. I was like, Martin, you don't need to do this. Which was very funny. But yeah, Damien's book is really, really good. I fully recommend it to anyone who's looking for introductions into contemporary analysis of genocide. Particularly because a lot of discussions on genocide, especially on social media, are really, really bad, and that goes for both ways in terms of what it means. Sometimes, traditionally, there's been a view of genocide as being the destruction of people, and anything else that does not include that is necessarily not genocide. But sometimes the pendulum can swing a little bit too far in the other direction, and people start using the word in words which isn't appropriate. And Damien's book is very useful for riding that, for knowing exactly how and when to use the specifics of that term in a contemporary way, which is very, very useful, I think. And a good example of that was recently me coming across, has anyone come across this TikTok character called the History Wizard or something, who claims to be a academic who studies genocides and the histories of genocides or something like that. And I recently came across this character as they were defending Israel as a construction. They'd leave just as much to be like, oh, I criticize the current Israeli government. Has the wizard found your video? I don't know. But I came across this person well before the video came out, and I saw this fucking person making just some basic points about what genocide is, what it means, its history, its understanding, its sociology, its sociological understanding, and making some real basic misunderstandings, and which has led me to believe that maybe this person is not an expert in this field, despite what they've been claiming, because they may disagree with it, but they seemed completely unaware that there were alternative understandings beyond the UN definitions, which are very basic access points for critiquing the term. And on a very basic level, critiquing international legal definitions of something, that's an entry point for any understanding of any international legal construct. And he didn't seem aware of it. So slightly suspicious of this person's qualifications. But books like Damien's Redefining Genocide are very useful access points for understanding why the perspectives offered by people like the History Wizard or whatever their fucking name is are inadequate for understanding these complex and emotionally charged topics. Battling into these topics with very little understanding is morally not great, I would say. The thing is, so the comment they're saying, who'd have thought a TikTok named the History Wizard might not have a great ground of historical analysis. When I saw that name, I thought it would be a white supremacist, and I'm not going to make any accusations right now, but but they're supposedly from the left. They're supposedly on the left, and their whole deal is pointing out tropes and dog whistles, and being aware of racism on the left, which is a good aim, because racism is endemic within the left as well. I just don't believe this person has much expertise, if I'm going to be honest. And if they do, why are they not using them in a way that why are they not using them? Sound very liberal. Yeah, they claim to be a communist. The way I saw the way I came across them at first was a video about Marx that was just bad. That was just inaccurate and false. So yeah, liberal might be the term. Yes, that's right, because when I made a TikTok responding to them, just correcting on some basic points. Because they were basically making the argument that it's okay to criticize the Israeli government, but to criticize Israel as a construction is inherently anti-Semitic and inherently invalid. And I made the critique of them, basically labeling their point as liberal Zionism, which is a definable historical ideological tradition. It is what the person espoused. I got lots of comments being like, He's not a liberal though. He's a communist. He self-describes communist. So so he definitely self-describes as a communist. But again, that is a liberal Zionist position. Just is. It also seems topical to the Pride video. It very much is, and it was on my mind while I was making that video. And I came across it as I was sort of planning. I started planning this video a long time ago, but as I was sort of planning the video at like before Christmas time. Turns out there's lots of people who just say shit without doing proper research online. Has anyone else noticed this? It's weird. The history wizard. I think you're right, Pinko Punko. I kind of want the history wizard to find the video, because I could do with the engagement, even if it's bad. I could do with the engagement. And what, he has like 100,000 TikTok subscribers? Come on, send them my way, man. I could do with some more views on that video. We'll get a TikTok that goes viral. We'll do it. We'll get some more eyes on it. The thing that really got me about him as well, and this is the thing that gets me about people, it's what got me about Vosh, is it's the arrogance of like the way that they engage with these topics and the way that they engage with people. I know I can be combative. I'm aware, and I can be dismissive of perspectives that I find worthy of dismissal. I'm aware of this. But there's a kind of arrogance in the way that the history wizard approaches things that he is clearly not an expert in that really gets to me. And Vosh is the same thing. The biggest example of that, I think, is, aside from the Professor Flowers stuff, the Kink at Pride stuff. Which really gets to me in like a ice pick to the back of the head. It really annoys me, and that's what got me. Like, because lots of people are racist towards Palestinians. Lots of people are Zionists. Lots of people do that shit. But this person particularly annoyed me. What's that name? BEA Base Bro says, I can't read that username, I'm afraid. Makes informative videos from a Palestinian perspective of Israeli crimes. Worth checking out then. Is he American and white? He is American and white. You've nailed that one. Yep. And a guy. Yeah. You've hit the nail on the head there. American white guy. Cordell Williams, you can respond to people with grace even if you're angry. I mean, you can. I'm not going to pretend that I do a lot of the time. Yeah, I can be a bit not like that. Thing is, and I've people have criticized me for this before, which I think is legitimate, but like, I will respond to criticism that I get, which I think is actually engaged with the work that has been done and is valid, and I will very much engage with that, and I think it's very, very useful. If I think someone hasn't engaged with the work and is just making a trite point, and you get a lot of this on YouTube, people just like saying whatever shit they wanted to say before they watched the video, I'm gonna be a dick to that person. I'm afraid I am. It's just part of me. I try to not, but sometimes I do. It's probably not the greatest impulse that I have, but sometimes they just get too much, and you just want to say, yeah, shut the fuck up. Just please shut the fuck up. Not naming names, but quite a few of online figures who have turned me off with arrogance later revealed their grift in full force. Name names to me later, Pinko Bunko, in private, because I want to know those names, because I am a little bitch for gossip. Yeah, that's Vosh. Very hard, headstrong, especially in debates. It was worse in the past, though, so he's turned it down a bit. I'm not gonna engage with Vosh. I'm afraid. Yeah. Maybe he's toned it down yet. That guy has very little respect from me, I'm afraid. It's funny, I haven't seen anything about Vosh in so long, which is really great. It's made my Twitter experience better. I'm very glad about that, and I didn't mute him, but it just seems to have disappeared, which is really good. My blood pressure's down relatively. I don't see mad bullshit. I think, and I don't have any evidence for this, so take this with a pinch of salt. I think that the period of debate streams has crashed. I think that period peaked during the pandemic when people were stuck in their houses. And I think people have really wised up to what it is and what use it is, and I think there's been enough basic pushback on it that it's not that's got nothing going for it anymore. Nobody's really interested in seeing Vosh destroys whoever or whatever, which is good. People are just working too much. Yeah, to be watching 8 hours of streams a day. Yeah, I think that's true. And that is said with the massive caveat that Vosh still has an astronomically bigger platform than me and a massive bigger reach, and is undoubtedly much more successful, and knows how to manipulate this platform. Sorry. That's wrong, actually. I've spoken about that before. Not manipulate this platform, but fit into the ways in which the platform manipulates content much more easily than I can do. I don't know. I'm not going to get too introspective about lasting impact. I guess so. I'm not sure my work has more lasting impact. I'm not sure that's true. I think there's some relevance, perhaps, to doing stuff that's not current affairs, but impact, maybe. Leftist kits have consistently amazed with how great their content is. Yep, their content is extremely good. They are, and they're wonderful people as well. Leftist cooks are fantastic. Okay. Shall we start drawing this to a close? Unless anyone's got any further questions or topics that they would like me to talk about. As ever, like my $10 Patreon tier offers people like a topic that they want me to talk about on stream. Not once has someone take me up on that, which I think is very funny. Everyone's like, yeah, we'll do this. Do I want you to talk about anything? Not really. You're good. So if anyone's got any topics they want me to talk about, just fucking fire them my way. And we'll see. Last 5 minutes. I know people come back for the videos, and I do appreciate that. I guess you sort of perceive videos differently when you're making them, and you see the analytics of it, and basically the sort of the way that view count goes is first week you get views, and then from then on you basically get none, which is probably not the best way to view it. And I know that people come back and rewatch it, and which doesn't necessarily appear. But I guess there's a way that YouTube as a platform manipulates your brain into considering how your content performs as just pure views. So I guess there's and obviously that is different to how people interact with content beyond, like, I don't see into people's brains how something has interacted with their life and with how they view stuff, which is obviously a very different thing. So yeah. Yes, everyone after this will check out Bothered Boys 44-second video, and we'll check that out. What's the best hardcore punk band today? I don't know. Pingo Bunko. I don't listen to punk, I'm afraid. Blackberry versus raspberry. Give us a hot take on jams. Neither. Blackcurrant. We used to have blackcurrant bushes in our garden as kids, and my mum used to make blackcurrant jam, and it's still my favourite jam. I love blackcurrant jam. It's really nice. Any fiction book recommendations? In my bookshelf right now, China Melville's Kraken, very good, very fun adventure book. Ursula Le Guin's The Dispossessed and The Word for World is Forest, both are also excellent. Barbara Kingsolver's two Barbara Kingsolver books that I love are The Poisonwood Bible and The Lacuna, both excellent. The Lacuna follows the Lacuna follows the life of a child who becomes an author, but through his life ends up meeting like Trotsky and Frida Kahlo and having and being involved in the McCarthy witch trials. And The Poisonwood Bible follows a family of American missionaries in what would become the DRC as decolonization occurs, and that's excellent. Orange is Not the Only Fruit. Oh god, I hadn't even considered that. Looking back at Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit is a lesbian book about like coming out and dealing with being gay as a woman in the north of England in the 70s, I think. I did that along with The Poisonwood Bible and a book called Wit, which also had gay themes, for my final year English dissertation. And it's only now that I've considered why I might have had an affinity with reading those gay books when I was 17. The little revelations you have. Yeah, all those are great books. Thoughts on himbos. You know, my thoughts on him, I think people talk about, people get confused, I think, when they see like a big stupid guy, and they think that necessarily makes them a himbo. To be a himbo, you have to be pure, you have to be nice. So big stupid is not enough, you have to be big, stupid and nice. And as such, big, stupid and nice, best people. Is it Gronk from The Emperor's New Grooves? Absolutely a himbo. All aspire to that. What music do I listen to? Well, at the moment, I've been really into listening to a bunch of Spanish language music, which is weird. Just sort of falling into it. Next week I'm going to see Young Fathers and Kapil Seshasai at the Roundhouse. That'll be very fun. Listen to a lot of electro stuff. Oh yes, that video on Just War. That was an interesting one. Yeah, that I like that video. I think that's an interesting video on the concept of just war. I still remember a lot of the facts that I gathered for that video because a lot of them are so atrocious. I actually do have a question you may not have an answer to. I often wonder about art in a world without private property and how it would avoid the problem of things like plagiarism. Well, I mean, I guess what ultimately is the issue with plagiarism? Right now, it is because plagiarism takes material value, like the material that you can gain, and applies it to someone different. I guess the most damning thing that plagiarism could do in a world without private property is that someone maybe gets more credit, but what does that really matter? If someone gets any more credit than you for a piece of art. And what also drives plagiarism a lot of the time is very materialistic issues. Making more money, getting through your university course. Without those particular pressures, is there as much of an incentive to do plagiarism? Those would be sort of the routes I would go down to consider that question. I've got a question. Are my bad bitch jokes inspired by Polish meme? I don't know what that is, so I no, they're not. It's just something I said once in an old video on human rights that I found very funny. It's not. Yeah, I'm afraid not. Don't mean to stir up drama, but what do you think of mainstream Marxist YouTube? Like Second Thought or Hakim, if that's not interesting, then how about Vijay Prashad? Like, again, I've not seen enough of these people's content to have a firm opinion on them, unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately. I just don't have time, especially right now. I'm in the sort of closing stages of the PhD. So I just don't have time to watch people's content anymore. I suspect I will have massive disagreements with them, just because of my specific brand of Marxism, which is the social reproductive theory one, which is slightly heterodox within Marxism, but that's all I can say. Kronk, yeah, exactly. I'm really glad you like Kapil's stuff. She Flew to the Moon. He was down. He came down to London just a couple of weeks ago, and we were just meeting up. Fucking the Scottish music scene, especially for non-white artists, is not good. So I have been absolutely promoting his shit because he deserves to be much more well known. His music's so interesting. It's so good. And deserves so much more listens. And he's just a fucking nice guy as well. He absolutely deserves everything. So I will be promoting him, recommending him to absolutely everybody for as long as I can. Your sister's working the Seshasai gig? Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's exciting. Yeah, I'll be there at the Roundhouse. It's just 2 days after the Young Fathers gig. I'm really looking forward to it. He was the first guy I saw post lockdown, and it was fucking brilliant. So I'm really looking forward to that. Polish meme mum is Caroline Zabrowska, a Polish dress historian YouTuber with that style of humour that you might like it. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, I almost forgot I was doing a PhD. Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's nearly done. We're nearly there. I'm going to insist that people call me Doc. I can't wait till I get that PhD. My brothers, I'm going to be like, going up to my brothers every time they talk to me and be like, "Oh, John, do you mean Dr. John? I think you mean Dr. John, don't you? You mean Dr. John?" That's going to be all I'm going to do for a good while. Good simple references. Social reproduction theory. Tithi Bhattacharya's social reproduction theory. Pluto Press book. I believe you can still get 50% off on Pluto Press using a discount code Duncan50. And Tithi Bhattacharya's book, Social Reproduction Theory, which is a collection of essays, is top notch. 100% great stuff. Accessible but complex. Very good. Very, very good. And yeah, well worth taking a look. Thank you, Deldia. That's really I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I've heard Hakim is interesting. I've just never had the time to check him out. My partner is so insistent on being called doctor because it's a gender neutral. That's very good. I'm going to insist on it, really only specifically to my family, because I want to be annoying, and I think it would be very funny, especially if we're playing Trivial Pursuit, and especially if I win. At which point people will be like, "Who won? John? Oh, I think you mean Dr. John. Actually, I think you mean Dr. John actually won Trivial Pursuit. I think that's what you mean. Just you forgot that." And 90%, 95% of the reason I'm getting the PhD is to do that. Is to do that shit. 5% to get a job. The discount code is Duncan50. I think it's still active. When the it said it's active until March this year, so I don't know if that means it's active during March or active until the end of March, so it might not be, but I think it is. Alright, so we will draw it to a close there, largely because I need to go to the toilet again. Thanks for coming to the stream, yeah, it's been a nice one. Got some good tunes, got some good chats, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks' time. We'll be moving towards the next video, whether that's on effective altruism or something else, something else quick. Cheers, Pinko Punko. See you later.